French police officer Alain Moreau makes an astonishing discovery. A man who died recently in a breakneck car chase is a twin brother he never knew. Alain then discovers a web of family secrets that lead him to New York City, where his brother is involved with the Russian mafia. Teaming up with his lover, Alain must now assume his twin's identity and go undercover to avenge his death. And in The Bouncer agrees to help Interpol hunt down a crime boss so he can regain custody of his daughter from social services. Hey, what's up you guys, Bloody Jacob here again to bring you a couple more action movie reviews, Jean-Claude Van Damme movie reviews in particular. Yeah, big shocker, right? That's been the majority of my channel for the past month or two. I have been trying to mix it up more, but I'm still just enjoying the hell out of going through JCVD's catalog, and that's not stopping now. And started doing what we've been doing with both Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren about a week or so ago as well. Reviewing classic or sort of a more known film from more of their prime of their career, and then doing a review on one of the more modern sort of more recent films. And in Van Damme's case especially, he's just done a ton of movies, man. Like his 80s and 90s films have like one book, and then like his 2000s and onward to now have like a whole nother thing could open up, which is a good thing, because I can watch Van Damme in anything at this point. And Maximum Risk I have here on this DVD set, which also has Desert Heat, Double Team. I reviewed Desert Heat quite some time ago. It was actually one of the first ones I watched when I got back into this genre, as hard as I have. But yeah. So Maximum Risk was one I was actually looking forward to watching for a while, or it was at least one I knew I had to watch at some point. First off, I gotta say it was directed by Ringo Lam, and if you guys know anything about Van Damme and his movies, you guys know that Van Damme and Lam had worked together on quite a few, or at least a few projects there, which include obviously Maximum Risk, but they also did Replicant together, which I really liked. One of my personal favorites actually, and then In Hell, which is a pretty standout kind of film in Van Damme's catalog for sure. Both really overlooked films. Maximum Risk is both more known than those two. So yeah, Maximum Risk, I liked it. Van Damme, of course, he does a good job in this movie. What can I say about that? It's probably one of his more well-acted performances from his 80s, 90s period. And then I also gotta say the actress who played his twin brother's former lover, Savannah Leviti. No, excuse me, I'm reading something else. But yeah, Natasha Henstridge. I actually liked her quite a bit. She had a bit of a charisma to her, a bit of a sort of way about her that I enjoyed. She wasn't just some sort of a bland, love interest companion or anything like that. And of course, they eventually build a connection between the two, even though she was with his, brother and everything like that. But it works well enough for what it is. Another thing about this movie is that it is very well shot, of course, again, bringing up Ringo Lam, who did pass away some time ago, unfortunately. But I'd say, like, out of all Van Damme's movies, the ones that involve Ringo Lam behind the camera happen to be probably some of the best looking of them, I'd say. Especially in the cases of this and Hell, for sure. And there's actually quite a few chase sequences in this movie, both via car and on foot, which I thought all looked pretty good. It's pretty well shot. And there are fight scenes, not quite as much as certain other ones. Excuse me just a second here. So you're not staring at my face the whole time I'm looking at something. And the majority of those fight scenes are against this, sort of Russian-looking goon that they keep sending after Elaine. But he's actually a pretty reoccurring actor in a lot of films like this, really. I'm not going to butcher his name by trying to pronounce it, but he unfortunately passed away some time ago too. And they do have a pretty good fight scene in the sauna, as well as a couple other ones. But for me, those fight scenes got a little bit repetitive. I mean, the guy he plays shows up about, I don't know, I think it was like 3 or 4 separate times throughout the movie to try and kill Van Damme's character. And it just got kind of repetitive, a bit tedious, because, okay, you keep trying, and it's not new, it's, I don't know, it's like the same threat coming at him over and over when he's like fending him off already more than once. So it's like, okay, what more is going to come from this? We know you're not going to kill Van Damme, so we don't want to see you try, like, 2 more times or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know, it is what it is. But, yeah, I liked it. It had a pretty good ending that I enjoyed, as well as the music. But for me, this wasn't really a standout film. It's just sort of, I don't know if I want to say there, but it's just not quite as memorable for me as some of Van Damme's other work at the height of his career. But yeah, it definitely wasn't bad. I mean, it was fine for what it was. It's just not one that's going to stick out in my mind as much as quite a few others, which is why I'm giving about a B- or C+, right around 79-80%. And The Bouncer is one I just did last year. It's also called Lucas in France, I believe. But yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing this one. And I'm very happy I did it. I don't own the DVD yet, but I plan to have both that and We Die Young sometime soon. We Die Young being one I'll be reviewing within the next few days for sure as well. Yeah, The Bouncer, I gotta say, I really liked for what it was. And when I say for what it was, is that it's even a lot less so of a usual Van Damme film. Well, besides being one of his more recent works, it's just very different for JCVD, and I think in a good way. I know a lot of people complain about a movie like Kill 'Em All because there's, some editing that went into the fight scenes, or there's a stunt double. Fact is that Van Damme's about 60 years old now, but he's still in very damn good shape, man. But he does what he can, and what I really like about this movie, though, is that what he can or can't do, to what extent aside, that's not really what this movie is about. The Bouncer is not an action film. It's definitely more of a drama, I'd say drama thriller kind of thing. Some of my favorite movies are dramas, but they happen to have like pretty visceral moments of violence or action that actually, means something. You can kind of feel it. And that's kind of the style this movie is going for, which I appreciated. And it gives Van Damme a real chance to act, which I really respect, showing a bit more of his acting chops, which I think really came through here. I think Jean-Claude did a very, very good job here. I actually wanted to keep going when it ended, but it doesn't feel too long, and I really like the vibe of it. The coloring is very drab and sort of, pulled out. Which I think kind of fits with the environment and tone of the film. Some people would complain about that, but I think it works. Now, I did see a dub version. I actually watched it through Redbox to start. And for the most part, the dubs are fine. I mean, you can sort of tell a little bit more with some of the cops in the movie. But still, Van Damme's voice and everything that he's recorded, as well as speaking on screen and stuff like that. I mean, I'm kind of questioning like when he just recorded and they put it over the video or what, but it's definitely his voice, luckily. But as far as his daughter and the others, it's for the most part not. But it definitely doesn't really stick out too much. You get used to it fairly quickly unless you really concentrate on it. I also like the main female actress in this, who I mentioned earlier accidentally. But yeah, Sophia Elvedi, I think she was actually a pretty good fit for it. As well as like Harris, who played Van Damme's sort of friend or partner at one point. But yeah, besides Van Damme himself, the focus is on his relationship with his daughter. And there's some charming scenes with it. Like, my favorite's actually earlier on in the film. He gets home from his job, and, they basically just, kind of see each other again. They're on the couch and stuff like that, and you get to see a little bit more expression out of Van Damme. It's kind of nice. Eventually he's roped into this other job that has, like, these larger, criminal ties and stuff like that. Then eventually he's put in position to inform on them, to a certain, not cop. I forget what exactly he was supposed to be, but so he's kind of put in that position. And his daughter is eventually pulled in, and I read most of that at the beginning of the video. But it works. Like I said, it's not an action movie at all, so don't go into this expecting a bunch of kicks or a big fight scene. And like I said, though, there are moments of violence and sort of confrontation. I think do kind of work in that world of the movie, and enough so that you feel it. And there is a pretty good shooting sequence as well. And again, Van Damme, I gotta say, he did really good in this movie. I already talked about her, who wasn't bad on the eyes, I'll say that. But yeah, like when he's using this punching bag, you can sort of feel the emotion, just the pain this guy has been through and what's going through his psyche right now. And again, his relationship with his daughter was very, very good. I actually wanted more of it, but what we got was actually pretty well portrayed. But yeah, so people are going to complain about this, and I'll talk about it again when I review We Die Young. But some people are just going to write this movie off because there's not enough action. There's not really much in the way of fight scenes. He doesn't really throw much kicks besides some like lower kicks or like a gut kick. That's not the point. I think if you're really a fan of Van Damme, you'll appreciate the kind of movie this is, which I did. That's not to say, though, I would have minded, some, fight scenes if they're more kill 'em all like or what have you. I don't think it would have hurt the film. I don't know. But I did really enjoy the ending as well. It actually plays out in a couple surprising ways. It left me sort of on the edge of my seat for a minute or two there. And the ending also leaves off on a pretty touching, sort of grim and realistic note as well, but I liked how it left off for sure. It got me. So, yeah. Overall, if I'd rate The Bouncer, I wouldn't say it's incredible. They definitely could have done a little bit more. They had some really good ingredients in it. Not everything fully realized. I think they could have honed in on certain emotions even more than they did. But I definitely respected the kind of film it was going for. And Van Damme, he definitely showed that he does have acting chops, and people seem to sort of go tunnel vision through some of that, which I don't think they should. But yeah, overall, I'd still rate about a B-. I think it's more of a B, technically, I'm not sure, but around a B or so, and an 83%. So yeah, let me guys thought about both of these movies, The Bouncer especially, since it came out just recently. So yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.